Here with world-renowned striking coach and now the MMA coach and striking coach. And I was going to say also Team Tompkins back in action. We're here at the Tap Out Training Center. You've got a lot of success coming out. You know, Sam Stout, guys like Evan Dunham pulling off a big win. Tell us about Evan Dunham. We'll start with him. And he's got a big fight coming up with Tyson Griffin, a guy who you're also familiar with. Are you going to be cornering Evan Dunham for that fight?
Yeah, I'll be working with Evan. Evan and I have worked together probably for his last 3 fights, so I'm really looking forward to it. You know, obviously him and I have both trained with, and I've trained Tyson before. I think it's just a great fight. Tyson is an amazing fighter. It's a huge step for Evan, but I think it's a good fight for him.
A lot of people felt that he was the underdog going into the fight with Efren Escudero. He ended up coming out victorious. Can you break down that fight for us and you know what it meant for Evan?
Well, I think obviously anytime you're going to fight somebody from the Ultimate Fighter TV show, people are always going to think that they're going to win just because they have more exposure. And it was really important for us to win that fight to prove to the world that Evan Dunham is a serious competitor out there. And I truly believe that, you know, in the next year and a half, he's going to be in the top 10.
And with the fight like Tyson Griffin, it could very well be a contender, you know, if he ends up victorious. How do you like his chances against Tyson Griffin, and how much of the familiarity with Tyson Griffin do you use in a camp for a guy like that?
Well, I mean, we will train specifically to beat Tyson Griffin. You know, it's not going to be an easy task. He's such a great fighter, but I think Evan has what it takes. And you know, I think the fact that he's a southpaw, I think the fact that he's aggressive is gonna, you know, it's gonna give problems to Tyson.
Another lightweight that's making waves for you recently is Sam Stout, you know, coming up with a big win over Joe Lozon. He's going to be fighting Jeremy Stevens, very tough guy. Walk us through that fight.
Well, I mean, it's a good step for us. It's a good challenge. Obviously, Sam is always exciting. Jeremy Stevens is a brawler, and Sam's a technician, so it makes sense. It's one of those like old boxing style fights where, you know, people just want to see what's going to happen with these two. I think it's going to be an exciting fight, and I think the UFC needs to make it happen. So we're excited about it. Sam's going to start camp already in about 2 weeks, and get ready, get prepared.
Having been with him for a very long time, what's it like to see him finally get that acclaim? You know, after he beat Joe Lozon, everyone's very high on him right now.
Well, you know, I started training Sam when he was 14 years old. You know, I've been with him every step of the sport, so it's a huge moment of pride for myself and him. You know, to see where he's gone with the sport, and you know, it's great to see that that the fans out there are really getting behind him, and that more than that, you know, guys like Dana White and Joe Silva are really starting to respect him.
Vitor Belfort coming up, fighting Anderson Silva in a title fight. You've been working with Vitor, you know, his 3-fight resurgence he's had here on the way to this title shot. How is he going to deal with pound for pound, one of the best guys in the world, and also the best middleweight in the world?
I think that Vitor Belfort is going to come out and do what he's been doing, you know, in the last 3 fights. We've been working well together. We've got a good game plan in place for that fight, and we're going to have a great camp here in Las Vegas preparing him.
Do you feel that his speed is going to be able to negate Anderson Silva's defensive ability standing?
I don't think that Anderson Silva has ever dealt with a boxer on the level of Vitor Belfort, and I think Vitor Belfort is 10 times better on the ground. So I think that Anderson, you know, we're going to have to deal with the public and the fans are going to say, but I think really Anderson's got to work harder for this one than we're going to have to.
No one's ever really doubted Vitor's talent. It's his mental game that brings into the fight. What are you doing to make sure that he's going to perform on a stage where he's typically falls by the wayside?
Well, we're going to do what we've been doing for the last 3 fights, knocking people out, you know, preparing them the same way. Vitor believes in me, and I believe in him. And that stuff that happened to him in the past, you know, it was the coaching staff he had around him. I don't think they were up to par. I think that the fact that his sister was kidnapped, I think that had a lot to do with it. It's among a lot of other things. And that hasn't happened in the last 2 years, and it's been great. He's been performing, and I couldn't be happier.
You know, being that the Team Tompkins brand is new in a way, you know, coming to this training center and building it, do you feel, you know, making Vitor Belfort the champion, the middleweight champion, will be a signature win for both you and Vitor?
Absolutely. When I met Vitor, we sat down and I asked him, you know, what he wanted to do with his career, and he said he wanted to seal his legacy. And when he told me that, I agree with him, and I think it's a good way for me to seal my legacy too. You know, Vitor Belfort has been a dream of mine always to train, and we've been successful together. And if he wins this fight, I win.